Do you ever feel that there's just nothing to photograph? What can I possibly go out and photograph? What can I take pictures of? Now, if you're at all like me, I get a little twitchy if I haven't done pictures for a while, if I don't do photography. Sometimes I pick up a camera and I just kind of fire it just to hear the sound of the shutter and, feel the whine of the crank. Sometimes I just have to go out and take photos. But what are you going to photograph? What is there to do? What can you find? Well, I had a chance to photograph a blues and jazz festival. So let me explain kind of how this worked out. Now, when I say blues and jazz festival, like I'm not talking Taylor Swift. I'm not talking some big mega concert production where you'll never get accreditation. And if you do get accreditation, you're so far away that you need a 400mm lens. I'm talking about a local blues and jazz festival. There was one in my area. I approached them about doing some photography. So I sent them an email a couple of weeks before the festival just saying, hey, I'd like to do some pictures. And they said, well, where are you getting accredited from? And I told them about my YouTube channel. And they said, well, no, that's not going to work. But maybe I could contact the guy in charge of doing a video. There's a guy doing a video. And maybe I can work something out with him. So I approached this guy who's putting together a video. So he's looking for a few volunteers to shoot some video. So what he's trying to end up with is a 7-minute video to promote next year's festival. And he's got 6 photographers, 6 people shooting video over this 3-day festival. And the whole video is going to be 7 minutes long. And he's not really looking for video of the performances because this is to promote next year's festival, and these people probably aren't performing next year. So he's looking for behind the scenes and kids getting their faces painted and, sort of like the feel and flavor of the festival. And he said, when you're not shooting, like there's 6 photographers and we're doing 7 minutes in total. So I look at it and think, well, my commitment's like a couple of minutes of video. And I shoot underwater video for other people's nature shows all the time, and I'm used to doing a 10, a 15, a 20-second clip that they can put into their show. So this is right up my alley. I'm going to produce a couple of minutes of video, and he says, I don't care what you do the rest of the time. You can take pictures, you can do whatever you want. So again, this is just the flavor of the local jazz festival. And this is the kind of clips that I'm getting. I'm getting like the town crier at the parade. There's a parade before the blues festival. There's the parade walking down the street. These are where my clips are coming from. He's not looking for, as I said, clips of the actual performances because they're not going to perform next year. So let me kind of give you the lay of the land here. They've closed down the main street of town. There is a stage on Main Street. So open and free to the public. There's a stage on Main Street. There are 2 other stages and they are paid. And I thought originally that they were paid because they had a beer garden. So of these 2 other stages, there's an outdoor one and then an indoor one. Now, I knew I wanted to take pictures, so I never went into the indoor stadium, the indoor stage. I wasn't interested in artificial light. So the outdoor stage, there's again the free one on Main Street, and then there's the second one, which is kind of where the beer garden is, and it's $20 for the weekend. Now, I've got a photo pass, and I'm allowed on the stage, but the angles aren't that great on the stage, so I'm mostly in front of the stage, and there are lots of people there with phones standing right next to me. So if you don't get a photo pass, you can still go to these small festivals. And as I said, the one stage was free. So you could literally do all this for free without a photo pass if you just wanted to stand there and take photos. Not an issue at all. Nobody minds. So this kind of gives you an idea of what we're doing. Now, what I decided to do was on the first day, I was going to be there the Friday and the Saturday. And to be honest, in the paid area, the shows are better. So the free area is great, but the shows are even better in the paid area. And the big acts are like at 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. So I'm trying to use available existing daylight. So I'm kind of wrapping my shoot up at 7 o'clock. I'm doing the early shoot, the early concerts, but the bigger names are generally in the evening on the Friday and the Saturday night. That only makes sense if you're running a festival. So on the Friday, I just wanted to shoot with rangefinder cameras. I'm trying to have fun here, trying to enjoy myself. It's just for the joy and love of photography that we're doing this, that I'm doing this. So just for the joy of photography, on Friday, I'm going to shoot with rangefinders. I've got a 35-1.4 on this camera. This camera has a weird viewfinder. It's a 58 view viewfinder, which means it's perfect with a 35 mil because it only shows the frame lines for 35 mil. So it's fantastic with a 35, and I've got it on a short strap so that it kind of hangs a little bit high, and the second camera would hang below it. So you don't want them banging together, but I always keep one on a short strap and one on a longer strap. Now the second camera, this is got a 51.5 on it, and this camera has a weird viewfinder, and this viewfinder is the 85 viewfinder, which means that it's a little bit tighter with a 50 mil lens. It's perfect with a 50 mil lens, to be honest. So I've got a camera with the 50 1.5 and a camera with the 35 1.4, and both cameras have a little bit of a different viewfinder, and they're perfect with that lens. I did take a third lens. I took a 25 2.8, and I hardly ever used it, but I did take it along. And with that one, you need a little viewfinder that sits on top of the hot shoe. So now these are the cameras that I took on Friday. Now here's what I want you to do. This is the learning part of this whole program. In fact, I'm going to show you pictures that didn't work, and I'm going to show you how I tried to manipulate things to get pictures that I thought were successful in the end. But what I want you to do is I want you to go to the website that I've put in the description, Jim Marshall Photography. Who's Jim Marshall? Well, I've never met him. I've never seen him at a concert. I've never really seen him at work. I've got no connection really with him whatsoever, except he's the greatest rock and roll photographer of all time. Leica even came out with a special edition camera to celebrate his work. Go to his website, like stop my video right now, go to the Jim Marshall website, take a look at a couple of classic shots. Johnny Cash, Bob Dylan, Jimi Hendrix. These are the great photos of these great artists. Apparently, Bob Dylan rolling that tire down the street. Jim Marshall said, "What's it like rolling a tire down New York?" And he said, "It's like rolling a stone." I wonder where that comes back to bite you. Anyways, stop the video, go check out Jim Marshall's website. That's what you should do right now. All right, so we're back from the Jim Marshall website. Did you see that old M4 with the brassing and the patina? They say it's the most beautiful camera of all. Anyways, I was trying to channel my Jim Marshall, shooting with a couple of Leicas. His stuff is great. My stuff needs work, but there's a great learning experience here. So let's kind of go over some of these images. So this kind of gives you an idea of what the paid stage looks like. So, you know, it's not a huge crowd, but there is a nice stage there, and you can kind of see that it's black and there's some of it's in the shadow. And you're going to be able to walk right up to that stage and photograph, you know, people from both sides. So you can get the guitar body side or you can get the guitar neck side. And I'm going to talk about those two things in a minute. So this is the paid stage, and this here is the free stage. So again, on the free stage, you can walk right up to it. It's a different angle, so the sun is streaming right in. You've got a black stage with the sun streaming right in. Lots of contrast going on. Now the thing with these stages, you can walk right up to them, but you don't want to stand in front of the speakers because you'll go deaf. So you could stand in front of them, you could wear earplugs, but I'm a little bit controlled by where the speakers are. I can either be inside the speakers or around the front of the speakers a bit more, but I don't want to be right in front of the speakers, so I want to be left or right of them. So I don't have unlimited choice in where I can be standing because of the speakers. Your pass gets you anywhere, but the speakers you don't want to go deaf on this idea. So this shows you what the stage looks like, and then here's from the back of the stage. You know, the crowds were good. There were thousands of people, but this is, you know, middle of the afternoon on a Friday afternoon. The crowds really haven't formed yet, but gives you an idea of what that stage is going to be like. Now, here's one of the early acts, and this is where I've started. So I'm on the right-hand side of the stage as you're facing the stage. Now, this is just a mess. Like, look at the clutter. Look at this. So I've got a lead singer. Full sun is on him. The stage is black in the background, and it's in shadow. So I've got full black, full shadow behind him, and he's standing in the sun wearing a wide brim hat. So there's going to be a few situations that I have to kind of work through mentally. Now, if you're shooting video or you're shooting digital, I mean, you just take the photos. But if you're shooting film, you have to be a lot more selective in what you pick. So I have a couple of like little guidelines that I would try to follow. So the first thing I want to do is I want to clean up that background. Like, look at that clutter, look at that mess. It's just so much. There's people walking back there, there's buildings. You've got to kind of clean that all up. So one way to do that is move around a little bit and get a better angle. But you can see right here, again, look at the clutter going on back there and the distractions with it, where there's the stage in the background, and then there's the town and the street in the background. So a lot of clutter needs to be cleaned up, and you would control that with lens selection and with camera angle. Now, my lens selection, I had, as I said, a 35 and a 50, so I can only get a limited narrow view. I don't have a 90 mil. A 90 mil would have been really helpful, and a longer lens would have narrowed that view, and I might have been able to put the subject up against the dark background easier. So this gives you kind of an idea. And what I'm showing you here are full frame prints done in the darkroom. Let's call them mistakes. And I'm going to work through kind of what I did to get the pictures that I found satisfactory in the end. So this gives you an idea, though. Lots of clutter. We're on the main stage. The sun is pounding in on this guy, and he's wearing a wide brim hat. So this is an okay shot. He was into it, and then I just burned and dodged it a little bit, and now everything needs a crop. Should you crop? No, you shouldn't crop. But if the picture sucks, you should crop. So all of these pictures needed to be cropped. If I was a better photographer, maybe I wouldn't need to crop so much. But these guys are bopping and moving around. It's hard to get them in focus, let alone frame it all up perfectly. So my pictures need a crop, at least from this assignment. And here again, from the guitar neck side. Now the guitar neck side has an advantage. Occasionally the guitarist will look at his hand on the neck of the guitar. So you can get a picture of him looking at his hands, and maybe that's a more interesting photo. But again, full sun, people are wearing dark sunglasses. Maybe their eyes are closed, or maybe they're squinting into the light. It's really hard to tell. But this is, again, a cluttered photo. How did we correct it? We moved around the front a little further, past the speakers, and now I've got the person standing in the sun against the black background. So that's the first thing you're going to clean up, is the background. Shooting with the 50, just try to tighten it up a little bit and get that background on. It still needs a crop. It still needs a burn. So I've burned in the shirt a little bit. He's in full sun. I've burned that in, and I've dodged his face a little bit. And then on this final picture, I've dodged his face a little bit more, and I've burned it in. And if you notice at the top the top left, there's some structure that holds the stage together. I've kind of burned that in as, quite a bit. It was nothing but a distraction. Now you just clean it up with a crop, and you're off to the races. So that's the first thing you're trying to correct, is the messy background. The second thing you're trying to correct, I find, now again, if I was doing digital, I'd just shoot the picture, but when you're shooting film, I'm being more selective. I don't like the mic in front of the face. That's just a pet peeve of mine. So I can either shoot the mic in front of the face, I can wait till he kind of rocks back a bit and sings further away from the mic, so now I've got a bit of space between the face and the mic, or maybe I'm going to photograph him when he's not singing and he's just kind of doing a lick, right? Playing his guitar. So I don't like the mic in front of the face, and I try to avoid that. So subconsciously, I'm watching the background, I'm trying to keep him in focus, and I'm taking the photo when the mic isn't in the way. Now, let's go to the other side of the stage for a second. Here's where the keyboard is. So this, as you can see from this video, this guy is bopping and moving around. He's tough to photograph. He's tough to get in focus with a manual focus rangefinder camera. So again, wearing dark sunglasses, is he squinting? He's looking into the light? But at least he's looking up. I've got full sun on his face, which is great. He's not wearing a hat. I've got full sun on his face. I've got the mic away from his face. And this is a little bit successful. It just needs a bit of manipulation in the darkroom, so I've got to dodge his face a little bit, burn the keyboards in, and burn the background down a little bit. So there is some dodging and burning that is required for each of these photos. This is full frame. Now it just needs to be cropped. Now, this is the lead singer, and he's also playing guitar. Again, I'm on the guitar body side, so he's got the wide brim hat. The light is scooting in there pretty nice as long as he's looking up. Now, here's him with the mic. It gives you an idea, though, of the lay of the land. So here he is, again, shot with the 50 mil, and there's no light on his face really because he's looking down. So the hat is causing the shadow. You can dig that out in the darkroom, but it's hard to do. And it's a hassle to do, to be honest. And how many prints do you want to do to get an okay picture that's not even great in the end? So that's one thing. I like it better when he's looking up and into the light. And with these pictures, you know, again, he's wearing that white shirt. You could burn that in if you wanted to. You could dial the contrast down a little bit, but it's going to be a contrasty photo anytime a person's wearing a white shirt in full sun and they're against a black background in full shade. So there's always going to be contrast. You almost need to look at this as, let the background go black, and what is the contrast of him playing, and let the rest of it just go black. So that's the one thing. So here's the lead singer trying to keep him away from the mic. And here's the lead singer with the keyboardist. Again, there is the mic going on there. It does need a crop. He's looking up a little bit, but I can dig that out a little bit, as I've done by dodging the print in the darkroom. So this is one of the more successful photos. Again, a little more of a dodge on his face. This is full frame. It needs to be cropped to clean up the clutter. And maybe this is a better shot because the keyboardist is better. See, we've got this shot, he's kind of turned looking, but here the keyboard is a little bit better. Maybe the lead guitarist isn't quite as good. Again, it needs a bit of a dodge and a burn in the darkroom just to get some detail in the guy's face. And then you have to crop it. So these are kind of the images that I was working with, you know, trying to shoot with a rangefinder. This is just for the joy of photography. For myself, I made some prints. Now, could I make a better print? Yeah, I could make a better print, but how many 8x10s do I need to work in the darkroom just to kind of get my point across here? Because this is the main purpose for these photos. They're not going anywhere beyond here. Anyways, shooting with a rangefinder, having some fun. I shot maybe 3 or 4 rolls of HP5. Now, that gave me a 500th of a second at maybe 2.8, 2.5 with full light. Now, probably I would have been better off, things I would have done differently. I probably would have been better off shooting 1,000th at 2.8 compared to 500 at 4. You know, I should have gone to 1,000th. I had lots of aperture left that I could open up. There's no depth of field anyways. It's either in focus or it isn't. So I probably would have gone 1,000th of a second. And I probably, if I had one, I would have brought a 90mm lens. I don't have a 90mm lens. The 50 is my longest lens. But you could have used something a little bit longer. And if you would have brought earplugs, a simple thing, you probably would have had a little more freedom of where you stood, because I didn't want to stand in front of the speakers. They were too loud. However, with earplugs, you wouldn't really be as concerned as much. So these are free blues and jazz pictures, you know, free to attend your local festival. Try to get some great photos. I shot some video as well that I, you know, gave as a volunteer to the organization. That gave me the photo pass. But honestly, people were standing right next to me from the crowd with cell phones. So you didn't need anything special. You can just, at this festival anyways, and a lot of these small regional festivals, you can just show up and take photos. No one seems to mind. A lot of fun. Get out there, try some photos. Joy of photography. Make the best of it. And don't forget that if you didn't look, check out those Jim Marshall photographs. He's the best rock and roll photographer of all time. Just saying.